Hello and welcome back to the Azure DevOps course. In this lesson, we'll explain the difference between the stages and the jobs and explain the parallel jobs and the multi-stages pipelines. So let's start. So I have made a simple pipeline to demonstrate how the jobs are written in the YAML pipeline. So what's a job? A job is a collection of steps that run in a separate environment, and the jobs are grouped inside the stages. In the same stage should have some similarities, like the build stage. It should contain the build jobs, and the jobs can run parallel to each other, so they can run the both in the same time. That is the default. The default is the jobs run parallel to each other, but we can also make a dependencies. Here I have written two jobs. So to write a job, first you write the jobs key. If you noticed in the last pipeline, we didn't write the jobs key, but by default there is one job that exists in the pipeline. But if we have written the jobs key, we must write the job list here, dash and job key, and write the job name here. So okay, that's the first job list. The first job is called build front end. It echo front end build. This job runs on Ubuntu, but this job, the build backend, runs in Windows late, runs in a Windows agent. So we can make different jobs run in different VM images. They both can be in different environments, but to group them, we group them in a stage. So by default, the jobs run parallel to each other. If you want to make them depend on each other, we can write the depend key, depends on, and write the job name that we want it to depend on. So now the backend job depends on the build front end job. So if we want to make the two jobs depend on each other, we need to write the depend on key. But I will erase now to show you how they run parallel to each other. So let's save and run. So now both are queued and running in the same time. That's the default in the jobs. They run parallel to each other. They both has finished. So now we have finished explaining the jobs. Let's go with the stages. I will add now two stages to demonstrate the stages in the YAML format. So now I have written two stages, the build stage and the deploy stage. The stages has a better UI to show the stages, and the stages are used to group the jobs on it, and it has also a lot of features. We will show it now. So to write a stage, we write the stages key first and make a list that contain the first stage with its jobs, and the jobs contain the steps. So we have grouped the build jobs in the build stage, and group the deploy jobs in the deploy stage. And by default, the stages run sequentially by the order of where we have written it. Like here, we have written the build stage first, then the deploy stage. So the build stage will run first, and the deploy stage will depend on it. So that's by default. So by default, stages run sequentially, but the jobs run in parallel. So you must know this info. But we could also make the stages run parallel if we want. To make this, we can go here to the second stage, which is a deploy stage, and write depends on and leave it empty, and leave the depends on value empty. Here the deploy stage will not depend on the build stage, so they will run in parallel, but I will leave them running sequentially. So now we have grouped the jobs inside the stages, and we will show now how it is very better to use the stages in the UI. So I validate and save, and the pipeline is triggered. So here, if I click the pipeline run, the stages are showing here in the UI. You see how the stages depend on each other by a very friendly UI. So we have the build stage and the deploy stage. The deploy stage depends on the build stage. We can cancel all the stage. So that's from the features of stage. We can cancel it. So it will cancel all the jobs that's running. So we have grouped jobs. We can cancel them all. And also, we can rerun a one stage. We can run just this stage, or rerun this stage with its dependents. So it will run the build and the deploy. So we have more control on the jobs that we are grouping inside the stage. We can rerun them all. We can rerun them and all their dependencies. So also, if there is an error and the stage is failed, we can rerun only the failed stage. So that's from the stages features. Also from the stages features, here if we run the pipeline manually, we can choose which stage to run. We can skip the deploy, so only the build stage is running. So if we done this and run, now only the build stage will run. The deploy stage will be skipped. So we have more control on which stage to run, which stage we can rerun if there is an error, which stage we can cancel. So we have more control, and also it has a very good UI, very friendly. It shows you which stage depends on which stage, and in a very good UI, and show you the jobs here. So I highly recommend to work with the stages. So that's all for this lecture. We have explained the multi-stages and the multi-jobs YAML pipelines, and explained the differences between them. I hope you enjoy it, and see you in the next lecture.